Good afternoon, Orange County and beyond. I'm Heather Bell, the Director of Membership for the Orange County Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited today to welcome Paul Sturmer, the Director of the Food Bank for Hudson Valley, serving the Hudson Valley out of Cornwall on the Hudson for 30 years and a member of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce since 1999. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Heather. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So I had a little gap there. I started to say the Facebook of the Hudson Valley. Was doing a little social media work before I got on.
Sure.
How's everything going today?
Doing fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So last year, Paul, your team, the team for the food bank, distributed 16 million pounds of food. That's kind of hard to really comprehend throughout the entire Hudson Valley. But this year to date, you've seen a 50% increase in that need. And if the current pace continues, the estimate for this year could be approximately 24 million.
Right.
But given the circumstances now, that number could drastically increase, correct?
Well, there's so much uncertainty with what we're doing, just like what we're all facing in some form or another. So if, as you said, if the current trends hold, by the end of this year, we'll have distributed about 50% more than we normally do, which would be put us close to 24 million pounds. But that number could go up, it could go down. This could remain relatively stable for a while. We just don't know. And that's what's making our business especially challenging these days.
Now, for the edification for our viewers and for the general public, explain the difference between a food bank, a food pantry, and a soup kitchen.
So we are a food bank, as the name implies. The difference is that we don't feed people directly, with very, very few exceptions. So we actually supply food to food pantries, soup kitchens, and other programs here in the region. So we supply food to the organizations that are feeding people. That's the big distinction.
Okay. And now, can the general public shop at the food bank?
No, we have made some exceptions over the years. So you might remember early last year when the federal government was shut down, we did a direct distribution to furloughed federal workers, which went really well. But 99% of the time, or probably more, we're supplying food to the agencies that are feeding people. So we don't deal with individuals at the food bank.
Okay, so you're distributing to the agencies, and how many in the Hudson Valley do you currently serve?
The number is usually around 400. There's been a couple closures over the past few months, but it seems like most of those agencies have reopened. So we're close to 400 again throughout the 6 counties that we serve in the Hudson Valley.
Wow, that kind of goes back to that 16 million to 24 million pounds, 400 agencies. And can you name a few just to give our viewers an idea?
Yep, I got some of our busier member agencies here in Orange County. So we serve agencies like Chester Presbyterian Church, Seventh-day Adventist Food Pantry, the Emergency Food Center in Monroe, the Emergency Adult Shelter in Middletown, Holy Innocents, obviously a church in Highland Falls, the Florida Food Pantry, Country Kids Food Pantry in Washingtonville, Deacon Jack Seymour, a big one in Newburgh, the Guild of St. Margaret, Middletown, the town of Montgomery has a food pantry. There's a student food pantry at Valley Central. We oversee backpack programs in Warwick, Highland Falls, Newburgh, Port Jervis. And lately we've been doing more mass distributions, sort of like community food distributions in Newburgh with Link and the Newburgh Armory Unity Center. So, and those are just some of our Orange County agencies. So we're, when you look at our member agencies, we're pretty well represented in the areas of high population and high need throughout our service area.
Now, can donations be made at those locations as well, or do they come to you first and then you distribute accordingly?
So all of our member agencies work independently of us. So a lot of them, the bigger ones especially, have their own staff. They have vehicles. They might have things like cold storage. They can get donations of food from some of our own retail partners. So we're not competing necessarily with our member agencies. We're just working to supply food to all of those agencies as they need them. And then, given that a lot of these programs are church-based, they accept their own donations from their own congregants. So they're all 501c3 organizations feeding people in need, and that's the common thread.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for explaining that. You know, so the current pandemic, it's really hit the food supply hard. And in so many ways, I have to imagine that this has really been devastating for you to navigate too, and to do so quickly. Nobody saw this coming, but there's got to be some kind of crisis management plan implementation of some sort, especially for you to rise to this occasion. Has the Hudson Valley seen a food insecurity and maybe like a shortage in the supply chain? And how were you able to scale up your business?
I think like a lot of food banks, we did see a disruption. So we rely on our donors, our retail and food industry donors, including farmers and manufacturers and wholesalers, for about 50% of the inventory in our warehouse. So that's significant. And as the pandemic hit, we did see a disruption in those donations because people were shopping in a different way at the retailers, kind of like binge shopping for some items. And just in the supply chain, some of the items that we would normally get were just not available. It looks like that's stabilized somewhat over the past few months. So the concerns that we might have had in March and April look at least a little bit better now. But, again, uncertainty is kind of the order of the day. And in terms of how do we scale up, I think, to be honest, we just did what a lot of other businesses did, which is because of the unprecedented nature of this whole situation, we do have emergency plans, but they were typically for things like natural disasters and things like that. And there was nothing really that could have prepared us for this. So it's sort of just a matter of going through every day, trying to adjust and recalibrate to whatever the realities of that day might be. And I would say, thankfully, so far, we've been successful at that.
Yeah, you and I had a conversation right in the very beginning, and it seemed like you and your team were really starting to lay the plans down in a very even manner and understand where you needed to be. So kudos to you guys. I was really impressed at that point. So how can the community help, like both businesses and individuals? I saw recently that there was a Stop the Bus drive, but maybe talk here about how there's a difference between a financial donation and an actual food drive donation, and what differentiates the benefits, especially on your end.
So there's many ways people can help, which is true of any nonprofit, but we look at it as sort of a three pieces to that system. If people want to support our work, they can donate funds, of course. They can donate food, which is still very popular. A lot of people and a lot of groups are still doing that. And they can also volunteer their time. So it might seem sort of counterintuitive, but we've actually had more volunteer support in the past 4 months than we had prior to that, even though we've decreased the sizes of groups that are coming in. We've had a lot of folks who are either older or younger who just haven't felt safe coming in, even though our environment is very safe. But our volunteer hours, the number of hours that these folks are putting in, has actually increased. So it's hard to say enough great things about volunteers, as always. But we don't discourage any sort of support, believe me. But if people are wondering how they can have the biggest impact to support the work we do, the answer is that financial donations are really the most welcome, because we almost never, at least up until very recently, buy food in sort of a retail context. So people's donations go to cover our normal administrative and operating expenses. So what we tell people is every $1 donated can actually provide 4 meals to people in need throughout the region. And we appreciate that people sometimes have to clean out their cupboards or they like doing food drives, but that really has much, much more impact than, just like cleaning out your cupboard every year. So financial donations are definitely at the top of our list, but we certainly welcome donations of food and time as well, anytime, not just now.
Okay. And, many organizations, especially, they're nonprofits in particular, they're foregoing their events this year, changing their formats. As a nonprofit, especially, you rely on your development and, your annual giving campaigns to sustain. What have you decided to do?
So we do have 2 fundraisers that take place in the fall, or they traditionally have. One is the big gala, and one is a smaller one. We haven't made final decisions on the smaller of our two fundraisers, but we're moving forward with our fall gala. It will be an all virtual event this year, so nothing in person. And those who have attended or have heard about this event in the past know that it's all about getting some of the best food prepared by the best chefs in the region. It's a very food forward type of event. And we're still going to be providing food as part of that event. It looks like we'll be almost doing like an Instacart sort of thing, boxing food up and either delivering it to people or having them come pick it up. So we are moving forward with our fall fundraiser. It's going to look and feel very different than it has in years past, but we're not the only nonprofit who's moving in that direction. And then meanwhile, I think like maybe some other businesses in the region as well, this sort of pause in our normal operations has given us a chance to really spend more time with a lot of our donors and supporters. That time typically being on the phone or communicating by email or maybe on a Zoom call or in other ways, not in person. But in that way, it's really been kind of a blessing to spend more time with the people who make our work possible. So there are some silver linings. It's hard to find those, but I think we'll come out of this with much stronger relationships with the people who support the work that we do, and that's a good thing.
Well, I have to give, great compliments to you and your team, your development director, for thinking so out of the box and really being able to, create an alternate to an in-person event and still be able to, service those that need your services in the Hudson Valley. So great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you bring together. And so now, Food Bank for the Hudson Valley, you have many programs that support the community, such as your backpack program. And our viewers can find those on your website. Joanna's going to pop that up for us. You can also find opportunities to volunteer and, most importantly, to donate there as well. And the donations stay right here in the Hudson Valley. Is that correct? Both monetary and food?
Yeah, that's really important. So we do serve a 6-county region here in the lower Hudson Valley. And I think people who donate food or funds want to know, and rightly so, that their support is going to stay right here within their own community. And the answer is yes. We can't necessarily say with great specificity that a financial donation will support Newburgh programs or Poughkeepsie programs or Rockland County programs. But what we can say is in that broad region that we serve, your dollars and your food and your time will go to work benefiting people right here within our 6-county service area.
That's great. Paul, did you have anything else you would like to share?
All I can say is that, again, as we look for something positive in this very challenging situation for everybody, the response from the community has just been, I run out of words. It's been unprecedented. It's been an inspiration. It's just been a godsend, the way that people and businesses have stepped up, not just with financial support, but with their time as volunteers, with food support, even some businesses offering their services on a pro bono basis, or just letting us know about opportunities, and even public entities like the county and some of the municipalities in our region have done the same. So we know that this is a really hard time for a lot of people, a lot of businesses. That's true. It'll probably be true for a bit longer, but it's just so nice to see the way a community rallies to support a cause like the work that we do. So again, once we get through this, I just feel like we're going to be an even closer community than we've ever been in the past. And that sounds kind of corny, but it's real, and people are making it so.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all that you and your team do, and thank you to the community for what they do to support the food bank. And thank you, Paul. Thank you for allowing us to continue to support you at the chamber, and anything that we can do to help you. We're always a phone call away.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather.
Stay safe.
You too.
All right. So thank you, and thank you to all of our members, and thank you to our community partners, and thank you to our corporate sponsors for their continued support and dedication to our mission at the Chamber. Just wanted to let you know that on Wednesday, I will be speaking with Ira Bodansky from the YMCA of Middletown, and I wish everybody a great day.